This is the Nourished Brain Podcast, where we explore the art and science of nutrition for brain health and mental well-being. The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. I'm your host, Sarah Thompson Fajera. Let's get started. If I needed to pick a favorite nutrient, magnesium would be it. And so today I want to talk about a little bit about why that is. Specifically, how magnesium supports brain function, some of the challenges that make it difficult to consume enough and increase levels in our bodies to adequate amounts, and to focus on how a specific form of magnesium supplementation called magnesium L-threonate could uniquely benefit brain health based on some emerging research. Magnesium is a mineral, of course, and it is considered essential for over 600 biochemical reactions, including nerve signaling in our bodies. Magnesium helps as well in the brain to regulate GABA and NMDA receptors, which balance excitatory and calming brain signals. Inadequate magnesium helps to prevent overstimulation of neurons in our brains and can help to protect synapses. So think of magnesium as acting like a bit of a buffer between stress and your brain cells, helping to maintain more calm. Symptoms of inadequate magnesium include irritability, poor concentration, anxiety, insomnia, brain fog, muscle cramping, headaches, fatigue, twitching, constipation, the list goes on. And magnesium deficiency, it is so common for a few reasons, partly because our diets in the US, Western diets, shall we say, tend to be higher than they should be in refined grains and processed foods that just don't contain magnesium. So a lot of our calories come from nutrient-poor foods. An additional challenge, though, even for those who do consume more whole foods-based diets or foods that do contain magnesium, is that due to soil content and quality, it's estimated that over the past 100 years, the magnesium levels in vegetables has dropped by about 80 to 90% in the US, and that is so significant. Also, chronic stress does accelerate magnesium loss. High caffeine, high sugar intake, alcohol can all increase needs. In addition, certain medications, including proton pump inhibitors, oral contraceptives, some of them can also deplete magnesium or impact absorption. And so with all that being said, even if you are someone who tries to eat really well, you could still struggle to reach optimal levels. So what is the amount that we're aiming for? When we think about the baseline recommended dietary allowance number, which may or may not be optimal, right, for any given individual, but it's a good starting point to get a general sense of where you're at. For men, for adult men, the RDA is 400 to 420 milligrams per day. For women, we're looking at 310 to 320 milligrams, and then pregnancy does increase needs, closer to 350 to 360 milligrams per day. Most adults in the US consume only about 60 to 70% of the RDA. So we're already behind, and not even considering those factors that could increase losses or interfere with absorption, yeah? And it's sad because even a mild magnesium deficiency could potentially impact focus and mood and stress tolerance. Not fun. So when you're thinking about evaluating your magnesium status, you can keep track of how much magnesium you're eating in a nutrient tracking app. You can, look up different foods and the magnesium sources, see how much magnesium is in different things. And I'll cover that in a minute too, give you some ideas for food sources. When you're trying to test, though, the test results aren't always super helpful. And because blood tests, just a serum magnesium level, can appear normal even when cellular levels are low or when magnesium is overall insufficient. And a large part of the reason for that is because in adults, magnesium is stored throughout the body. So for example, about 55% is located in the bone, about 25% is in the muscle, and another 20% or so is found in soft tissues. So less than 1% is thought to be found in the serum. Red blood cell magnesium may be a more accurate way to measure magnesium status. So if you are pursuing laboratory testing, that could be a place to start. Okay, so when it comes to food sources, where would you find magnesium? Some of the most reliable tend to be dark leafy greens, i.e. spinach and kale. Pumpkin seeds can pack a bit of a punch. About an ounce of pumpkin seeds has around 150 milligrams of magnesium. A buckwheat, also you might know that as kasha or buckwheat groats. Black beans, quinoa, avocado, dark chocolate, low sugar, high cacao, dark chocolate. And just generally speaking, beans and legumes tend to be a good source, and nuts and seeds tend to contain magnesium as well. So when you're thinking about pulling a day of eating together where magnesium intake is a priority, you could think about in the morning having a bowl of cooked buckwheat cereal, maybe some almonds butter and berries in there, strawberries. In the afternoon, you could think about some kind of a quinoa nourish bowl with maybe some lentils or black beans, perhaps some pumpkin seeds sprinkled on the top. In the evening, maybe some lightly sauteed spinach with sweet potato, whatever protein you like. As I mentioned, though, unfortunately, even when the diet does contain foods that should be fairly rich in magnesium, that effort may or may not be enough to experience the full benefit of adequate magnesium intake. I say this because I have seen supplementation benefit so many individuals, myself included. So let's go through some different forms of supplementation as well, acknowledging that there are some groups that supplementation might not be appropriate for or where there could be a risk. Always check with your prescribing provider, with your dietitian, before you make any decisions around supplementation. Just be safe and be thoughtful. Okay, so magnesium glycinate is a form of magnesium that I've seen often used for sleep support. It tends to be calming, fairly gentle on digestion, whereas magnesium citrate is often used more frequently for gut regularity if there's some constipation going on. And if you overdo citrate, that may loosen stool a bit too much, so be cautious with that one. Magnesium oxide does tend to have poorer absorption, is used as more of a laxative of sorts. The last form that I want to mention that's available through supplementation is magnesium L-threonate. Magnesium L-threonate is gaining more attention for cognitive and brain support because it seems to cross the blood-brain barrier, more effectively than other forms of magnesium. So magnesium threonate, it actually combines magnesium with a compound called L-threonic acid. And that's what seems to enhance that absorption into brain tissue. Animal research shows that magnesium L-threonate can raise brain magnesium levels up to about 15%. And perhaps because it seems to improve synaptic density in the brain, to boost learning and memory as well. In humans, 30 days worth of magnesium threonate supplementation at a dose of 2 grams per day improved memory and attention scores in adults, especially older participants. And another small trial with 80 35 to 55-year-olds, it was seen that supplementation with 1 gram per day of magnesium threonate as compared to placebo improved sleep quality and daytime mood after just 3 weeks. What made this study so interesting is that participants measured sleep data with an Oura ring, if you've heard of the Oura ring. And so they were able to see that those in the magnesium threonate group had improved deep sleep scores, REM sleep scores, improved readiness parameters, and also improved activity daily movement scores. And that latter point may be having to do with the role of magnesium in supporting overall energy production, as well, of course, in potentially improving and supporting good sleep. So here are my notes of caution around magnesium supplementation. Those who have any form of kidney disease, impaired kidney function, should be extra cautious to check in with their providers around supplementation. And there are some medications as well that if you take magnesium with them, absorption can be impaired of the medications themselves. So thyroid medications, for example, certain antibiotics. So if you are on any kind of medication regimen, do your due diligence there, please. Safety first, always. So big picture here is that although magnesium status is kind of a complicated picture, it's a little bit of a puzzle, right? If we're able to apply our best efforts to consume magnesium-rich foods, incorporate supplementation as needed, as helpful, and to combine really good nutrition with daily practices that help to reduce stress, because remember, chronic stress can deplete magnesium. Deep breathing, being in nature, journaling, whatever it is that works for you. All of these efforts together, I really think they can help to calm our stress response, to improve sleep, and just provide overall brain protection. By restoring so many nutrients and ensuring you have adequate intake, but magnesium especially, I think you can really give your brain and body the foundation for just overall improved function. Thank you for listening to the Nourished Brain podcast. If today's episode inspired you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who could use it. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and stay nourished.